Yo, the lies so that you never make it. Hopeless, so it seems. Eyes closed, candles open wide to embrace your dreams. Sometimes you gotta take a loss just to get the win. Like lots of sin was popping in like oxygen when boxes win. Focus on the mental, never lose like a smooth instrumental. Better choose on the move in a pinto. Choose what I get to, never lose smooth on the move, but it's simple. Never give up and we winning it, maybe. We just keep winning, we conquering daily. Envision and pay me, it's never the sway me. Indigenous, maybe we winning this crazy. Your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity, it's your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity, it's your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity, it's your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome one, welcome all. It is the Lion Villain Report. It is 10 a.m. It is September the 17th. It is my 23-year-old daughter's birthday. Happy birthday to Aubrey. If you're listening out there, give me a like on that. Give me a like for my daughter's birthday today. And I'm a grandfather too, if you can believe that. Yes, I am a grandfather, and I cannot wait for the next time that I get to see my little granddaughter. And because it is faith, family, and football on this show right here. But right now we are broadcasting live into the Detroit Lions Villain Squad Facebook page right there. 53,000 people. Thank you very much for supporting our page. Join the conversation on our page. We put up 13, 14 pieces of content every single day and creating conversations. Sometimes we're doing a little bit of trolling. Sometimes we're getting trolled. But join the conversation. Have some fun out there. We're also broadcasting live into our YouTube page. And we are also broadcasting live into the 77,000 follower network of the Detroit Lions News Podcast. Thank you to Joe Chapp and the boys for allowing us to broadcast live there. It's faith, family, and football in that order. And this show is brought to you. Make sure the show is brought to you by the NFL Shop, our affiliate marketing partners. Right there, you can use the QR code right there and go and grab yourself one of them sweet Jahmyr Gibbs jerseys right there. And if you use that code, thank you for supporting our page. And it is PFF Tuesday. That's what today is all about. But I do want to do a little bit of review right here. And before I get to the review of the Monday Night Football game, let's get in here and say hello to everybody. Good morning, Fred Peterson. It's a great day to be a Lion fan. Good morning, Dwayne. Good morning to you, Davey. Good morning to you, Paul Jones. Thank you, Davey, for the happy birthday for my daughter today. I appreciate that. And I'm sure that she does too. But we're talking some football here. Yesterday, they had this little football game. And I mean, I don't mean to say that I told you so, but there it is. You got the game leaders right there. You got the Atlanta Falcons upsetting the Philadelphia Eagles, going to 1-1, defeating these Philadelphia Eagles. Look at Kirk Cousins right there. You like that? 20 for 29, 241 yards with 2 tutties. Efficient. That's what Kirk Cousins does. It doesn't look all that great. Look at him showing up in prime time. Bijan Robinson looking like the real deal, man. He looked really good, man. I was watching him. I enjoy watching him run. 14 carries, 97 yards. Darnell Mooney. The corpse of Darnell Mooney shows up. All of a sudden, he goes to Atlanta where they have a quarterback. You like that? Darnell Mooney, 3 receptions, 88 yards with a tutty. Saquon Barkley was a bell cow, 22 carries, 95 yards. He was on my fantasy team. Come on, man. But now they did not have A.J. Brown, but no excuses in the NFL. It's always got to be next man up. Pretty close in total yards. Kirk Cousins outpassed Jalen Hurts. And in total rushing, they had more rushing yards. But, I mean, Jalen Hurts had a couple runs in the first half of that game that were pretty impressive. When it comes with the Eagles, Jalen Hurts, 23 for 30, pretty efficient. Only 183 yards, so they weren't doing much down the field. 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Jalen Hurts, 13 carries for 85 yards. I mean, he went to the well in the first half, and it seemed like they started sniffing that out. But it's PFF Tuesday right here. I don't know if you guys even like talking about the Monday Night Football game. What's up? Good morning, Scotty Reno. Good morning, Sarah. Thank you for the birthday wishes for my daughter. Kirk Chains. Kirk Chains doing Kirk Chains things. Dude was on another level. I don't know. I mean, when it comes with Sarah, not liking Kirk Cousins, I could see why people don't like Kirk Cousins. I mean, it's not all that exciting. When you got pocket quarterbacks and you do a good job at protecting them, they can get back there and do their thing and read a defense, and that's cool. It makes it, but it's not exciting. What you're doing is you're taking a distributor, you put it into the hands of a playmaker, and then they go make the magic happen. So it doesn't look all that great for Kirk, but Kirk has always been that guy. He's always been that efficiency type of thing that it kind of leans on his running game, and other playmakers. He got to throw to Justin Jefferson for for some years. It's nice having some playmakers, but it's also nice having a running back like Bijan Robinson. And that's an underestimated team right there. I mean, when we were doing our top 11 lists at the beginning of the off season, and we were going through it seemed like Atlanta kept on finding its way on these top 11 lists from the tail of the tape right there. I want to put a shout out right there to the Main Event Football Show last night. Great show last night. The review preview every Monday night. Mike goes through the review of the Lions game, and then we preview the Monday night game every week on there. I'll put a shout out to Elise Memes right here, the queen of memes. I figured I'd make some graphics for you guys, because instead of me trying to tell you where to go, you just scan that QR code and you can go to Elise Memes page, and then you can follow it. And she has all kinds of funny memes, and some of them are out there. You got to be smart to understand some of Elise Memes stuff. And also for Steven, Michael, Hulka, McMania. That's right, brother. These are our supervillains. These are the ones that are on our page creating stuff. I mean, I create stuff too, but we all do this together. This is a collection of villains here, and the supervillains. We're not bad people. Villains aren't bad people. Usually, villains are misunderstood. Usually villains are misunderstood. Usually from the outside, you got a bunch of people talking and yapping and telling how bad that they are, but really, the villain's trying to do the right thing, just a little bit misunderstood, and we identify with that because we all make mistakes in life. And yeah, there you go. Big M says, good morning, Russell and the Villain Squad. Happy birthday. Thank you. Have an awesome birthday. I hope that she's watching the show, but I don't know. She might not be into football as much as we are, but I am definitely going to let her know, if she's not watching, that there was a lot of love on here for her birthday. And maybe she should watch Dad's show, but I don't know. Listening to me yap about football, it might not be the most exciting thing in the world to somebody that doesn't like football as much as we do. I still will never believe in Kirk. Yeah, he's one of those guys that needs a supporting cast, right? Him and Goff are right in that same category. I mean, even if Goff or Kirk Cousins were to win a Super Bowl, it would be to the credit of everybody else. There's got to be some other movement. Oh, well, he wouldn't have done none of that without his offensive line. And I get that. So those unmobile quarterbacks are the most underappreciated commodity in the NFL. Honestly. And I say that just because 80% of the game happens from the pocket. Pockets or handoffs. Where the quarterback's just got to drop back. Doesn't matter how quick you are and how good you are at creating after the play. 80% of the game has to be, you got to run the offense. You got to sit back in there and you got to run the offense. And game managers are the best at doing that. The guys that can create after and they have good game managing skills. Now, those are the ones that are usually the special ones that are out there. But let's get into some of this PFF stuff here. I'll move it over to my PFF. And just kind of go through. I mean, I like just kind of going through the top five and maybe categorizing some of the things here, because there were some telling things when you look at the numbers. Like first of all, I put this disclosure on there, and it's that anything that we find on PFF is not the end all be all here. It's just another way to look at the game through the number. And it usually does tell a story about the way things were. And right here, when you look at the top performers on the offense right here, you got Kevin Zeitler, Sion Vaki, but he only played the 5 snaps. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Taylor Decker, Penei Sewell. But what I want you to understand with these two guys, Taylor Decker had a pretty good game. But Penei Sewell, 69.6 is not a bad game. But Penei Sewell is one of those guys that is usually in the 90s. Now, so when I say that the offensive line needs to play better, I don't mean that they played bad. At least from the tackles. I'm going to point out something here a little bit in a little bit, but right here. But Penei Sewell is usually in the elite category. And you're welcome, Elise. Hey, I love that you guys like the community of Lions fans, especially the ones that are committed to putting content on our page. You're helping our page too, Elise, by making good content. When people engage into your stuff and like your stuff, I mean, this is just a platform. That's all the Villain Squad is a platform right here. And we're content creators. And we support content creators on here. And we love the Detroit Lions. So we've decided to make content that is based around all of the Detroit Lions. And I know that not all of your content is like that. So, we don't want to isolate it. We do want people to know that Elise Memes has her own page of her own thoughts and ideas, and it doesn't necessarily all have to do with the Detroit Lions. So thank you, Elise, the queen of memes. Now, back on topic right here is we're telling a story right here. Penei Sewell is usually a guy that's in the 90s right here. So this is an off game for Penei Sewell when it comes like that. And then the guys down at the bottom right here, Frank Ragnow, this might have been Frank Ragnow's worst game as a pro ever. The interior of that offensive line really struggled. Let's look at this in pass blocking. We'll itemize it the other way right here. Your pass blockers right here. Frank Ragnow, 33.7. Graham Glasgow, 39.6. And, even Sewell, I mean, at 65 points, he got beat a couple times through that. And these guys did all right on the edges right here. Taylor Decker had an okay game or a good game, and Kevin Zeitler had a good game in pass protection. But the middle of that, those are horrible scores. That's not bad. That's below bad. 40s are bad. That's worse than bad at pass blocking. So Vita Vea was having a day in the middle of that line. And it showed on Jared Goff's performance too. Now, Jared Goff had his share of bad throws. He was skipping throws in there. But now you can really look at the PFF scores, and it tells a story. Would you agree with that? Russell, do you have concerns about Goff play? As he looked off to me. Is this play going to continue like the last two games, or did Goff right the ship? Or does Goff right? I think he can right the ship, but I think that we're telling a story right here with the PFF. When you get middle pressure on Goff, when it's coming right up the middle, Goff struggles. The protection's got to be good in the middle on Goff. I mean, and let's not oversell that. Goff still threw for 300 yards. Between the 20s in this game, Goff was, I mean, he was pretty good he threw for 300 yards. He had some bad throws mixed in with that. They were 1 for 7 in the red zone, guys. Really, like when it comes, Goff was almost good enough to win this game. Yeah. And Sarah brings up a good point. So most QB struggles with pressure in their face. And the thing is, it's where the pressure's coming from too, Sarah. Sometimes you can step up into a pocket if you're getting pressure from, some of those high end, like the Aiden Hutchinsons of the world. If Aiden Hutchinson rips around the edge and you're getting good middle protection, you can step up into the pocket. But when the pressure's coming from the middle and you're getting forced into the guys that are the pass rushing specialists, that's a tough thing. I have a PFF stat that's very that's very telling. 55 pass attempts. Who we trying to fool? Here's the thing, Paul Jones, is 55 pass attempts was one pass attempt away from winning the football game. I mean, honestly, they had 2 chances to go down the field and score a touchdown with those 55 pass attempts. They were, I mean, we gotta stop framing this like there's this ass beating that we took in this game. This wasn't an ass beating. This was a great, I mean, honestly, when you look at the game, if you watch the game, it was a poetic, beautiful defensive game with struggles and really the things that get lost are the 3 and outs that are in between the highlights. I mean, don't we lose that? When you're looking at stats like this, oh, look at these PFF stats. It's like the whole ebb and flow of the game gets lost when you just look at stats. Like if you watch that whole game, it was a beautiful game, from beginning to end. And I thought that the defense on both teams was more successful than the offense. I mean, as much as you want to say, we're going to go in here, let's look at some of these Detroit PFF defensive scores. And this kind of tells you even more right here. This is actually gives me more excitement to go forward in the future because I like some of these defensive scores here. The offense blew the game. Because the defense was really good in this game. I mean, I know that we're getting some flack on that, but the defense, for one, only gave up 20 points in the loss. If you look back at the losses that the Lions had last year, if we would have held a team to 20 points, we would have won those games. The offense has got to play better. You're looking at these scores right here. Aiden Hutchinson played well. Brian Branch played well. Kirby Joseph played well. Aleem McNeil played well. DJ Reader. These Levi Onwuzurike. These guys aren't the ones that are usually showing up at the top of the lists right here. They credited Hutchinson with 5 sacks in here. Look at Levi Onwuzurike, guys. You want to know who's going to lead the team in sacks? Past Aiden Hutchinson? Well, there's Levi Onwuzurike. 2 games, 2 sacks. Now, as far as Terrion Arnold, he was way down at the bottom right here. Terrion Arnold, 44 snaps. They're going after him. They're not going after Carlton as much. They're looking at Terrion Arnold, 44 snaps. 2 penalties. But the thing that I do like about Terrion Arnold, let's look at him here when you focus it in here on tackling, right? Tackling, 74.7. Terrion Arnold is a good tackler. You got to learn how to play defensive back in the NFL. And Terrion Arnold's learning trial by fire in 2 games. They've went after him. But if you want to get on Terrion Arnold for giving up 14 catches to Cooper Kupp, you got to look deeper into the stat than that. That's 14 catches for Cooper Kupp. He had like a $119, over 100 yards. He didn't torch him. It's like 7. That's like 7 yards a play. Terrion Arnold is tackling the man that he's covering the minute that he catches the ball. Terrion Arnold is getting penalties that can definitely be cleaned up. It's going to get cleaned up with coaching. All the rookie cornerbacks get touched with this thing because the rule is different in college on how you can put hands on a offensive player. So that takes time to work itself out. But since the Lions have a veteran corner on the other side in Carlton Davis, the defensive coordinators are doing what they're supposed to do, and they're going to go after Terrion Arnold. They're going to go. Kyler Murray's going to go after Terrion Arnold. Geno Smith is going to go after Terrion Arnold. The Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott are going to go after Terrion Arnold. Why? He's a rookie. But that's not an excuse. But here's the thing. Trial by fire. Keep testing this kid. Because there's one thing, the kid doesn't lack the confidence in there. He's not getting burnt out on the field. He's not looking like he's out of position. When I'm looking at these numbers, they tell a story. You know, you got good tacklers, our best tacklers. We got great tacklers. We had 7 tacklers that rated in the 70s as tackling. That's the sign of that a defense is starting to put it together. It starts with tackling. Big M says, thank goodness we are getting a little something from Levi, because it's going to be hard to get Davenport off the bench. He doesn't love to play football, in my opinion. But the thing is we don't need Davenport to have, 15 sacks, right? We have a lot of other players. When you look at these numbers in here, DJ Reader, Lee McNeil, Josh Pascal's even playing better. Josh Pascal's one of those guys that's been like sneaky getting better. Last year, he was consistently just kind of like 55, 60, but now he's consistently staying in the 60s, and he's just progressively getting better. And I think it's as the snaps come in, because, he only played 13 snaps. So it's like you got these guys that are getting NFL experience. Paul Jones says Davenport is skipping practice this week. We knew what Davenport was when he got here. And I don't want to call him Davenport. The guy had a good game in the first game. We had this conversation the other day. Would you take half the season if you can get good production out of Davenport? Give me 8 good games. I think that we set the over-under on 10. If we can get 10 games out of Davenport, we would consider that a win. That's what we voted on last week. We're not expecting Davenport to play every game. We didn't have any pipe dreams when it came to that. Most Lion fans thought that it was half a season. So, but when you look at some of these numbers here, let's look at it in the run defense category. I mean, the Lions are stout against the run. Because really, when you're talking starting to get to the above plus player starts at 65. I mean, and when they start turning the PFF score into green, that's where you're starting to get plus play. And anything below 65 that's below average play in that area. And this is by we're doing run defense right here, categorized right here. Kirby Joseph, DJ Reader, these names in the middle. That's over half of the team that plays well on run defense. Over half of the team is a good tackler. From pass rushing, you got Aiden Hutchinson's the dog in the middle of all that. And you got other guys that are doing okay. Total defense. I mean, you're seeing progression. And as I'm looking at these defenders, now let's look at Tampa Bay. Now Tampa Bay, I mean, look at these the high defensive scores all the way through here, all the way down to Jamal Dean. Let's go down. Okay, so they had 14 players. Now, granted, some of these guys only played a couple plays. I should take those snaps. Can I get those snaps out of there? Do the snap count. Oh, I can't categorize it. Damn it. All right. But still 14 players that are playing snaps out there. And even these guys right here aren't all that bad. These guys are average in there at the very least. But all of these defenders played well in the game. Run defense. We were able to have some success on them towards the end. But Vita Vea, here's where PFF doesn't get it right. Vita Vea is a run stuffing master, and he's ranked at 42 on his run defense. And that's just not right, because what he may be doing, and this is something that I always say about DJ Reader too, is like you can't categorize that. They don't have a PFF stat. They don't have a stat that shows the value of a DJ Reader or a guy that can anchor, and take a double team on and make that his thing, like, is to anchor and take that double team or destroy the play. And Vita Vea is one of those players where he can anchor, and you gotta move. You can't really move that guy out of the way. You have to account for him, and then you have to attack the other player. But you got to put two guys on him. I mean, Vita Vea was getting blocked by Ragnow and Glasgow, and he was still getting there. There's those defenders that are like that. And DJ Reader is one of those guys. You could probably attest. I don't know how many sacks that Aiden Hutchinson got while Reader was out there, but I bet you he was out there for the majority of Aiden Hutchinson's sacks. Paul Jones says Reader is a huge addition. Is there any? Now, I'll throw this out there to you guys. If you guys are listening, if there's any PFF stat, if you want me to look deep into any player or anything, let me know. I can look something up here as it pertains to this game. On offense, I mean, I'm looking at these guys. I don't think the Lions, this shows that the Lions defense played well. Yeah, Chris Godwin played out of his mind. I mean, outside of that long touchdown they gave up to Godwin, it was lights out. Nobody else did anything. Mike Evans was a non-factor. He had 3 catches in the entire game. It's when you're looking at it's just they just don't really have that much to be impressed about on offense. They just really didn't do much on offense because the Lions defense played really good. And Terrion Arnold's score being so low is completely due to the 2 penalties. Like that, the PFF murders you, unalives you when it comes to the penalties. And you can argue the one Terrion Arnold penalty. I mean, if you want to argue it, there was some content. He pushed off on the one because he was trying to make a play on the ball. He had a good point to the point where they're both running down and he had his body turned towards the ball. So I understand the Lion argument that he kind of got hosed on that play, but we were there and we watched it. They were running right at us, and it definitely looked like Terrion Arnold pushed off. I hate saying that. Like Mike brings it up while we're at the game, while everybody else wants to cry and moan about no, he pushed off. He pushed off. He's got to bring it up, but it's like it's true. When the referees get it right, you gotta call it what it is. If it's close, you can't complain about the referee. They got to make close calls. Big M says Baker did rather well. He got those legs going, especially on the one drives. AG needs to figure out the mobile QB. Baker only had 35 yards rushing, and it was really all on that one play. I don't think it's a mobile quarterback thing. I mean, we like I say, we forget the fact that these guys got to run a bunch of plays too. And when you look at these guys on offense, I mean, Baker really didn't play that well on total offense. Where's he at? Baker Mayfield, 55 over 6. He did have a decent day running, but having the day passing, he didn't have a great day passing. It was okay. But the Lions contained that offense for a good portion of that day. Let's not just look at the box scores right here. Like I said, we forget the 3 and outs that happen in between all of the highlights. I mean, it's the truth. Because there was a bunch of dodge, duck, parry stuff going on in that game. They hit Jared Goff up on some 3 and outs. And that's what I say to the run crowd. Why didn't they run the ball more? Well, because they weren't being successful in it. And like I said, if you watch the entire game, you'll see that. They did have some good runs that were in there. Jahmyr Gibbs busted out a couple of them that were in there, but a lot of the series were a run, stuff, 3rd and 9, Goff short arm the throw. When you're doing 3rd and 7, 3rd and 9, that's not in the advantage of the offense. So, and that was most of the game. And on defense, we forced them on a few 3 and outs that are just going to kind of get lost in the transition of everything. So it's like you look at the one highlight film on the one drive that Baker had where he ran the football well, and then we immediately project that and say, oh, that happened the entire game, when in all actuality it was one drive that he had good. And the rest of the drives, they were completely contained. Most of those drives ended in an Aiden Hutchinson sack or a Levi Onwuzurike sack. So I think the PFF has told us a story here, a little bit of the story. The defense is getting better. The defense is getting better. The secondary has to minimize the mistakes. But the secondary is still the secondary is better. We're getting good back end play. I'm looking Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph kind of locking in the back of that defense. Russell, do you think that other teams are figuring out Ben's offense? Tampa seemed to know every play was coming a lot of the time. I don't. I don't think it's that they're figuring out the offense. I think that the middle of our offensive line had a bad game. And Goff had a hard time dealing with pressure up the middle the entire game. If you can get a quarterback, a rhythm quarterback, and Goff is a rhythm quarterback, you know, if you can get him back there and he can get to his progression, he's very dangerous. But this is not I would like to see Ben Johnson do more runs, I guess, but the thing is the runs weren't working. Ben Johnson went to the pass because when we would run the ball, it would be like a 2-yard loss. Like they had a couple of plays. That's the thing. It's like, be careful just watching highlights, guys. Because we were trying to run the ball. Ben Johnson was trying to get it working, but when the middle of the offensive line isn't executing and you can't get 4-5 yards on first down running the football and then have the threat to play action, the offense is at a disadvantage. You know, when you where is Goff the weakest throwing the ball? We were going through this yesterday, and I agree with Mike on this. Goff's weakest spot to throw the ball is the perimeters. He can carve you up in the middle. When you take the middle away and he's throwing the ball to the perimeter, and then you're on top of that, you're going to get interior pressure the entire game. It's a good game plan. It's a good game plan. I mean, there comes a point in time where you got to tip your hat to the game plan of the other team. 20-16. We can't really complain about the defense. I mean, really? Like I said, I wish we had a defense last year that could hold teams to 20 points. I mean, we were in the 30s last year, guys. The defense is a lot better already. It's hard to say that after a loss, but I'm a positive guy. Mike's going to give you the crux of that. But when I look forward, got to put the game behind you, you know, move on to the next play. What happens when you throw a pick six as a quarterback? You know, they just scored a touchdown off of your pass, and now you got to get back out there. Suck it up, Buttercup. Frank didn't have a good game. That should make you feel good. Frank didn't have a good game. I'm not worried about Frank. You worried about Frank the Tank bouncing back? Anybody? Anybody out there? Can I find anybody that's worried about Frank the Tank bouncing back? Because I don't know what's in the middle of that defense of Arizona, but I do know that it's not Vita Vea. It's not the Tampa Bay's defense. And Tampa Bay is notorious for having great defensive lines with lots of depth. That cornerback that they had that was replacing their all-pro safety, Jordan Whitehead, had a great game in his. Next man up. If you got a guy that can play, that's sitting behind the guy that's playing well. You know, I love me some Brian Branch. He's my starting safety. But if Brian Branch went down, I'd feel good about Ifeatu Melifonwu getting in there. I feel okay about that. I feel good about our depth of secondary pieces, even Brandon Joseph. Corey, LOL, Davin Poop is out. I'm so shocked. Yeah, Davenport was out this week. With a brand new injury. Bucks had our number, and they wanted it more. I think our defense gave us a chance to win. When I look at the end of that game, there was a whole bunch of Lion fans that, on that when they didn't get the touchdown and then, they had the ball on the goal line. We were there with 3 timeouts. There's 50 seconds left. Everybody's leaving. Defense gave us another chance to win with the offense. It was the offense. The offense is the one that had the bad game. The defense gave the offense another chance. If anything, I'm proud of the defense. The defense, no matter what, they had never backed down. You got to have that grit. You don't win every game. But what more do you want? What more do you want from your team? I mean, obviously you want them to finish out the drive. But their defense wanted it more than our offense. And it was evident. It was evident at the end. And it's, it's not, losing doesn't feel good. But we're Lion fans. We're used to the losing part. We can deal with the losing part as long as the team continues to get better. Like I'm not worried unless this team ends up going like 1-4 while we're trying to figure this out. But we get to week 7 and week 8. I believe that by that time, this secondary is really going to gel and find itself. You got a whole bunch of new pieces. Everything else is the same, right? Levi was here last year. Pascal was here last year. Aleem was here last year. Hutchinson was here last year. Campbell, Malcolm Rodriguez, Alex Anzalone, Derek Barnes. All those guys were here last year. Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch. All these guys were here last year. The new pieces that are definitely more talented, way more talented. And when I sat in the bar isn't high here, guys. The cornerbacks that we brought in they don't have to be better than all pros. Terrion Arnold and Carlton Davis and Amik, they have to be better than Will Harris and Jerry Jacobs. Kendall Vildor. They have to be better than those guys. And they are. How much better? I think by week 7, week 8, we're going to find out how good, because the defense is going to lock in with the rest of the guys that are doing their thing. And whatever Terrell Williams is doing with that defensive line is working. That's going to be a problem for offenses, okay? That defensive line that the Lions have is going to be a problem for offensive lines. Dynamic offensive. Teams that are used to being all slicky, sneaky deaky around the corners and being like, I'm really looking forward to seeing what we can do in this next game. You got a mobile quarterback. We're going to find out. Randy says, try not to be so predictable on offense. The thing is like predictability, when you run the ball, we play smash mouth, Randy. It's almost like that's what we are. A predictable offense from the point of we want to line up our guys. When we're playing the best line, but we're lining up our guys and we're going to run off guard. We're going to run off tackle. And there ain't a damn thing you can do about it. because our people movers on the offensive line are going to move your guys out of the way. Now, when that's not happening, we're off that. Look, we can be completely unpredictable off of that, but it starts with the foundation is like we got to be able to run off guard. That's the foundation of the offense. It starts with the running game. You know, when you're averaging 5 yards a carry on first down, and that happens when you got a great offensive line. That's when we're working. When we're working, that's what it is. You got to be able to run the ball, get yourself 3-4 yards on first down, put yourself into, 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5, 2nd and 4. That way when you get the next carry, you're looking at like 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. The Lions are built like that. And it doesn't mean you can't win when you're not. I mean, the Lions almost won a game where Jared Goff threw 55 passes. I mean, if I put a blame on anything, the coach took the accountability for it. He made a mistake at the end of the first half that cost him. Now, I know that everything plays out, but in a close game like that, I mean, you look back at that 3 points and you're thinking, man, if this was a 1-point game and you had the ball left with 40 seconds, you'd be trying to go find Jake Bates instead of trying to score a touchdown against a team that you haven't been scoring touchdowns against. So he had the only unforced error in the entire game, which was Dan Campbell. 22 men on the field. It was completely, that was a botch, and it was a mistake, and he owned it. But that one mistake, you can really look at it and go, wow, when you're trying to score from the 25-yard line, going, man, it'd be so much easier to kick a 45-yard field goal right now to win the game. Gosh, Russ is spitting facts out here. But there are some good things that we can take from this game. And you're looking at the PFF scores, and the PFF scores do tell a story. And it's no secret that when Jared Goff has a bad game, it's usually tied to the offensive line too. And we can agree with that. I'm not worried about Frank the Tank having a bounce back game. I mean, barring an injury, I expect Frank the Tank to have a dominating performance in the next game. That's what the Lions are built. The Lions haven't lost 2 games in a row since 2022. Let that sink in. This team bounces back. I'm not saying it's impossible. This is a tough Arizona team that we're going to have to beat on the road. We're going all the way out to that West Coast. Not all the way out to the West Coast, but Arizona. That's a high-flying offense. They just creamed the team that we had trouble beating in the first. But it's our offense that's been struggling. The villain believes in this offense. I still believe in this offense. Mike still believes in this offense. They haven't shown me anything that's going to throw me out and make me panic. We lost to a good Tampa Bay team that may be in the playoffs again. They're solid. Baker Mayfield is a gamer. But let's not blow it out of proportion. He threw for 185 yards, and 40 of it was on like one play, where the receiver did the most of the work. He had a good drive where he ran well, but let's not blow this out of proportion and make it sound like our defense is getting owned by a guy. Defense gave us a chance to win that game twice in the last 2 minutes. And I hope that I help you guys on a show like this, because I know a lot of times people make opinions based out of emotion, and they want to, and it's like the easy thing to do is just to go, oh my God, Jared Goff, it's Goff's fault. We need a mobile quarterback. That's easy and it's lazy. Now, if I'll be the first person to tell you when I come in here, and if I'm looking at great grades and I got 5 good grades on the offensive line, and I still got Jared Goff having a crap game, I will force him to be accountable. I spit facts on here. It's facts. The facts are, when the Lions throw the ball less, that they have a better chance to win. That's true. That's facts. That's facts. But the thing is that it doesn't make it impossible to win. When somebody forces you to throw, the weak part of our offense is if Jared Goff has to throw a lot. But that's not how the offense is built. But that doesn't mean that Jared Goff can't win those types of games. He didn't win this last game, but that doesn't mean that he's not going to win every game. Goff still threw for 300 yards. They were moving the ball. You know, Goff has had a whole bunch of games where he's been the plus player, driving right down the field, reading the defense. They don't give credit for that. When those wins happen, it's all offensive line, it's all everybody else. I'll give Goff credit where credit is due. And he didn't have a good game. He didn't have a good game. But Frank the Tank had a worse game. Graham Glasgow had a worse game. About the lowest grade possible that you can have for an interior offensive lineman. So if it's all Goff's fault, Corey, I understand. I understand that you do not like Jared Goff. It's not going to be perfect all the time, meaning the O-line. So this is what we have to look forward to every time. Then they make excuses for him. Who's making excuses for Goff? The thing is I try to caution people against the doom and gloom. The doom and gloom is to way overreact and look at this Jared Goff performance like it was the worst performance in the world, because it wasn't. The man threw for 300 yards in a losing effort. When you really look at the game, if you actually watch the ebb and flow of the game and watch the game in between the highlights, you'll see that the offense struggled in the red zone, and they were really good between the 20s. They have to work on the red zone offense. Because if they were better at playing in the red zone, they could have blew these guys out. They could have scored over 40 points. They could have scored over 40 points if they could score in the red zone. They were in the red zone they were 1 of 7 in the red zone. And really, Jared Goff threw that 1 interception just outside the red zone. So let's call it 1 of 8. Mark says that I think Tim Patrick will take place of Josh Reynolds this year if he stays healthy. You like that, Tim Patrick? He's the big body wide receiver that we've been looking for. And yeah, as long as he comes back from that injury, he needs to get back to that form that he was. He had a good year in that. So didn't say I didn't like him. It's just facts that our fan base makes excuses for him. Well, they also are unnecessarily hard on him too. I don't see. I mean, there's a lot of Goff homers that are out there that no matter what he does, he can't do anything wrong. And there's also Goff haters that are out there that no matter what he does, he can take a team to the NFC Championship game. He can play outstanding, and everybody else gets the credit for it. Oh, it was Amon-Ra St. Brown. Oh, he wouldn't have been nothing. He would do nothing without this. Oh, he's nothing without that. So the team thing comes into play when he plays well. So his good play gets overlooked because other teammates get credit. And when he plays bad, all the haters come out and talk about him like, oh, here it is, just like in the Super Bowl. And it's like, wow, that Super Bowl was like, what, 5 years ago? And we're talking about right now. And if we're just talking about right now, and we're talking about that last game, I saw Goff play really, really well in between the 20s. And then I saw him not play very well once we got to inside that red zone. Get it close, but not in. So they got to work out that red zone stuff. They got to work out them red zone kinks. And that's where Mark comes in here with the Tim Patrick. You know, that's the big part of the offense that we've been missing, right? That big body wide receiver that can go and go up and get the ball. Paul says Goff is a top 5'10" quarterback. He'll shake off the rust, no doubt. Well, he definitely wasn't a top 5'10" quarterback in this last game. Right there. I don't know if anybody's talked about this. It's I got in late, but where's Laporta? Yeah. Yep, I saw him on a milk carton. Sam Laporta, where you at, man? I kept you on my fantasy football team because I thought I was going to have one of the best tight ends in fantasy football production. Man. Corey Patterson says that when you throw the ball 55 times, you will have that many yards. That's right. We'll agree on that. When you throw the ball 55 times, you're not in a position, like, you're not in the advantage part. Like, when you're playing Lion football the way that we want to play, you want him throwing somewhere between 30 and 40 times. Not anything over 40. You know, really, if you can get him throwing the ball 25 times, between 25 and 30 times, and then you got that nice balance of run, you get both Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery 10-plus carries, and you're running off the play action, you might get a long touchdown. That's the Lions football. And when you got a defense that forces you to throw the ball 55 times, that's a recipe to beat the Lions. And the Lions were within one play of winning that game, even throwing the ball 55 times. And that's somebody taking us off of our game. Carolyn says that the whole NFL was weird last week. Yeah, the teams are trying to figure it out right now. You know how it is. It's hard to pick games, too, at the beginning of the season because there's so much turnover. It's hard not to be the guy who chucked it down the middle of the field because he was under pressure. Yeah, that one interception that he had was a bad interception. He deserves that. He deserves that. You got to protect the football. I mean, you look back on it, oh man, he should have just taken the sack. It's easy because he didn't make the right decision. But you just got to take the sack. But, you know, on a 4th down play, I mean, I might be able to excuse it. Y'all, Goff had a long season. He got married, honeymoon, signed a contract. He just tired. He'll be back in a few weeks. We ain't got time for that, Big M. Ain't nobody got time for that. We spent good money going to that game. Get it together. All I'm saying with PFF Tuesday, we told a story today. And the story was, it wasn't all on Goff. The 2 interior offensive linemen had their worst games. I think that might have been Frank Ragnow's worst game as a pass blocker in his entire career. And if it's not, it's right there. That was an awful game. So, I'm not here to apologize for Goff, okay? I gotta, people don't like my takes ever, and that's fine. When I see something wrong, I'm gonna point it out. So you can't tell me the sky, the blue sky when it's raining. Yeah, you can point out bad things, but it doesn't have to, an overreaction. See, when we point at these things that happened in this game, it's something that is shit that we just got to look forward to it coming now. You can look back through Goff's career and you can look at when he has bad games. And usually when he has a bad game, it's a snowballed bad game. Everybody has bad games. You can look back through everybody's career and find bad games. And every time somebody has a bad game, they want to point back to the last bad game that they had too, which is usually in between a whole bunch of good games. I just want a quarterback to be consistent. And I also want to give credit where credit is due. Because when you look at the defense, when you look at the PFF scores, and the PFF is not the end-all be-all, I look at a Tampa Bay team that had a good game on defense. They were good at tackling. Every time that the Lions made a play, they didn't let yak happen. So if I'm going to point out something good, it's not because I'm a homer and I'm just not seeing the facts in the future and I'm just telling the truth. So that's why I can be negative all the time. It's people don't like your takes because you come at them in a negative Nancy kind of way. If you don't come at somebody in a negative Nancy kind of way, you can point out these things that need to be fixed. But the offense as a whole, if you're going to play as a whole, you have to take the whole offense into consideration. And it doesn't surprise me that the middle of the offensive line having a very bad day translated to Goff having a bad day. And it's okay. mean, because the silver lining is, here's where the blue sky is, Corey, is despite all of these things that you threw out against them in the loss, that is the worst thing in the world, the defense still gave the offense 2 chances to win the game at the end of the game. So I'm just going to choose not to doom and gloom. It's okay. I don't mind not dooming and glooming, but I'm not going to sit up here and preach like Goff had like this great game. He was good between the 20s. Like I said, he threw for 300 yards, and most of those 300 yards were in between the 20s. As soon as he got into the red zone, Tampa Bay stiffened up that defense. Here, I'll make another excuse for Goff. How about this? The first interception that he had wasn't his fault. All defensive holding. Guess what? Jameson Williams was coming out of his break. Guess what? That ball was going to be a perfectly thrown ball to Jameson Williams coming out of his break, but he was being held. That first interception wasn't Goff's fault. However, Goff did almost throw like 3 other interceptions. So, got to take the good with the bad in there. But he wasn't good in the red zone. Kudos to Tampa Bay for making Goff throw to the perimeters. Goff's strength is to throw into the middle of the defense and carve them in the middle with the Amon-Ra and Laporta, and they took that away. We did get some plays to Amon-Ra, but they held him down. You don't want your number 1 receiver getting held to, 10 yards a reception. But hey, Ken. Hey, I love talking. I'm in that mode right now. I'm in a talking mood. Hi, Russell. Our kicking game's still awesome. Bates and Fox being at the top 5 in the NFL. There you go. There you go. Good teams handle the pressure on being at the top. Can the Lions? I think that they can. Yeah, it's 1-1, guys. I don't want to overreact. I don't want to go to 1-2. That's the crappy thing about being 1-1, because now you got to think about being 1-2. You have to entertain the thought that it might happen. But if you can't deny 2-0, would feel a lot better. Yeah, check out them Minnesota Vikings. And if Sarah's still out there, congratulations, girl. You're on the top of the mountain for the week. Lions are still the champs. You know how I work these rules. I've been consistent with my rule. We're still the champs. We're the champs until we're not. We didn't take this title from you until like week 16 of last year. But right now, you guys got a 1-game lead. The Minnesota Vikings deserve their flower. There you go. Ken Fisher says, do you think that our new addition to the offensive line has caused a little chemistry balance? It just seems that they're not quite gelling together, and it might have a lot to do with not playing together live in a real game. What's your thought? That's possible. I don't really subscribe to that. I subscribe to different struggles both weeks. Like the interior, Frank Ragnow hasn't had a good start to the season, and In the last game, I think that had more to do with just Vita Vea. I mean, he's a really, really good defensive tackle. I think that he gives a lot of people problems. And he's one of those underrated defensive tackles because it's not going to show up in a stat line. The fact that you have to account for a guy and put two guys on him no matter what, that doesn't show up in a stat line. It shows up at other places. It shows up where they had interior pressure. William Golston. It shows up there. You know, getting QB hit. You know, Anthony Nelson. Greg Gaines. They end up getting it because of Vita Vea anchoring and forcing us to use two guys on. It's the same thing, and why we got pressure on them. Aleem McNeil is a beast. It's not going to show up in the stat line when they have to devote two guys to get him. DJ Reader, you have to devote two guys to get him. Aiden Hutchinson, 8. He had a feast out there. So now, when you see Aiden Hutchinson get 5 sacks, that's the result of good interior defensive line. So, their defensive line was the same way. We struggled in the middle. Struggled in the middle. I mean, go figure. Their guys, their worst guys were their interior. They didn't have very good games from the interior. And that showed. So, Zeitler had a good game on the O-line against Kennedy. So let's check that out. So Zeitler actually had the best game out of any Detroit Lion. He came in at a 78.8 overall with an 82 pass blocking and a 73 run block. So he was the most solid offensive lineman on the team. Taylor Decker came in at number 2, who had a pretty good game in the pass blocking, but he did not have a good game in run blocking. Penei Sewell had a okay game at 69.6, but you're used to seeing him in the 90s. So he had a struggle game in comparison to, he usually dominates, and he didn't dominate. I mean, if you're just comparing him to every tackle in the league, middle of the pack for Penei Sewell. Graham Glasgow had an awful game at pass blocking, 39.3. And Frank Ragnow at a 33.7 grade at pass blocking. I'm not making excuses for Jared Goff here, but it doesn't help. I mean, the pressure from the interior is the worst for a quarterback, guys. It's the worst. I mean, if you have good protection in the middle of your offensive line, even if you're getting pressure from the outside, from your ends, you can step up in the pocket. When you get pressure to the interior, you're forcing the quarterback to, choose to run into the 2 best pass rushers on the team. You have to run to the outside if you get to escape pressure. And that's usually where the best pass rushers are. So that's not good for anybody. But with all that being said, they still had a chance to win. They still had a chance to win the game. Am I crazy for still not being worried about Minnesota? Yes, you are. Minnesota with a Brian Flores defense, forces an offense to not have to be that good, and that's an offense that has Justin Jefferson on it. And a team won 2 NFL games. We'll have to see them when they get to the division games, though. I am going to take a pause on, crowning them yet until they play some division games. But I think that you are kind of crazy for not even, to not be worried a little bit. I want to beat that team. We swept them last year. They're pretty pissed off at us. Minnesota has a tough game this week against Houston. Yeah, they may lose their first game. They're all high up right now, and that Houston team that's a good team. That is a really good team. You can definitely tell Sewell wasn't 100%. Sure. That's why I said offensive linemen as a contributing factor to the Lions' failure to score inside the red zone. I think that you're right on that, Ken. Offensive line, I think, contributed more to the loss as a whole. And I think that they take accountability for that, though, too. Goff is going to take accountability for him making bad throws. I'm sure that he wanted a couple of those throws back. But, it's the offense that's got to step up and, get into rhythm. And I expect this defense to continue to get better. Let's forget this game and look forward to the next victim. Yeah, I think that the Lions might play mad ball. Paul Jones says that the Vikings didn't drop out until week 13 with Dobbs. They can definitely be dangerous this season. Yeah, think of that. Let that sink in. That team was competing for the division last year with Nick Mullins and Dobbs. Mark says that I think it was a blessing in disguise that McCarthy getting hurt this year for Minnesota, giving him more time to get used to the NFL and plays. Well, Sam Darnold's just a better quarterback than J.J. McCarthy is. I think that we undersell quarterbacks that have NFL experience because, they didn't do well for your fantasy team. Corey says, I don't come at in any negative way. Broski Bear eats people alive, but people scared to say something to him. Broski Bear is a troll, a professional troll that comes on here. Just remember that Broski Bear is, representing one of the other teams. And you got to expect that from them. And just... Here's something that just, to me, I know as a default, Corey, and you can probably appreciate this. The fact that he comes on to this show and doesn't, go to, Bear podcasts, and he's got to come on to the opposite team's podcast to troll, shows that he's thinking about us. And it shows that they're scared. And don't worry, they'll disappear. They'll disappear when they lose. They don't want to come in here and it's not a good troll. It's not a good troll to come in and talk shit when you lose. But we've established pretty cool rules with this, and we even make ourselves accountable to it. Right? I'm trying to keep my troll mouth back a little bit this week because we lost. You can't lose, and I can't come on here and be like, yeah, we're going to be so good. We're the greatest team in the world. We lost. What are we going to say? The same thing with the Bears. Nobody cares what a Bear has to say this week. Nobody cares what a Lion has to say this week. If we want to go out and talk tough, that's fine. If that's your style, you can talk tough. Lions need to come back and have a bounce-back victory. I can spit facts. I can tell you that the Lions haven't lost back-to-back games since 2022 during the 1-6 stretch. And that's impressive. This team's a hard team to beat twice in a row. They get mad. I expect Ragnow to have a bounce-back game. I expect Graham Glasgow to have a bounce-back game. But I'm not going to start trolling Packer fans right now. Last week, I was allowed to make fun of Malik Willis, but now I can't. I mean, but that's the rules. When you win, you got 7 days to run around the streets metaphorically naked, waving your ding ding. Tell everybody that you won for a week. Right now, Minnesota, they're flying high. They should be flying high. You know, 3 wins in a row. If they win, again, they go to 3-0. That all of a sudden becomes somebody that you got to contend with. I mean, Lions may have been the favorites at the beginning of the season, but right now they're just a 1-1 team. So I project them to do better. I think the defense is making strides. You can see the progression. And the thing is like, I'm not an expert. Dan Campbell's the expert. And Dan Campbell usually tells the truth. Like almost to a fault when he's doing his press conference. So when he says that he sees the progression out there, I'm there with him, you know. I can see the things. And then the PFF stuff here tells the story. Tells a little bit of the story. Start putting the pieces together. And the Lions are a young team, and they'll be putting it together. And they just played 2 playoff teams back to back. Teams that were pissed off that they lost to us in the playoffs. So these were good tests for the Lions right out of the gate. You know, you come out of that wolf. The Arizona Cardinals aren't mad at us. We can expect a just fine football team. You know, they may want to beat us because we're hyped up, but we just lost. So we're not so hyped up right now. Arizona's kind of hyped up. Everyone's excited. They just want a big emotional division game. You know, taking a wounded team that didn't even get to start with Puka Nacua. Getting it done and win a big emotional game. They're coming and they're high. Lions got humbled. They got humbled on Sunday. This time we drug the Buccaneers out into the deep waters and they drowned us. And I won't hide behind that. You know, we lost. We don't get to talk as much smack. So as far as the Broski Bear thing goes, Corey, you know, just remember that's a bear troll, and he's a professional troll. I love Broski. But just remember that they're only trolling because they're thinking about us. It's rent-free headspace, living rent-free in their head. He feels comfortable coming on here and trolling. But don't be afraid to give it back to him, especially this week, because the rules on this week, he gonna come in here and he gonna troll our loss. That's okay, but it's weak. Like, how you gonna come in and troll a loss? You gonna come in, you gonna make fun of Malik Willis? That's weak. That's weak, broski, Barry. You gonna come in and troll us when you lose? When you lost? Well, you got good excuses for your loss? Your excuse was better than my excuse. Our loss is really, really bad. Hey, you're 1-1, and we're 1-1. You lost. Take a hike. But Sarah, the Vite Queen, girl, you're allowed to say what you want. You can come in with the troll. You can tell us that we haven't won a championship. You can, hit us with some history. We deserve it. We're gonna take our medicine. The villain takes its medicine on the weeks that we lose. What is your panic level on a scale of 1 to 10? That's what I'm going to leave you with right there. That's what I want you to comment on. If you're watching this on the replay, what is your panic level? I'm going to leave you with that right there. This is the Lion Villain Report. PFF Tuesday. We check out the PFF stats every Tuesday. You can join me. Broadcasting live into the Villain Squad Facebook page with over 53,000 villains. Thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for following this page. Thank you for subscribing to the Villain Squad YouTube page. Thank you to our friends over at Detroit Lions News Podcast and their 77 followers for allowing us to broadcast into their page. Thank you to Joe Chat. This show is brought to you by our affiliate marketing partners at NFL Shop. You can use the QR code for right there to go get that slick looking Jahmyr Gibbs jersey. Or you can use the link that I just threw right into the comments right there. And you can go to the General Lions page right there. But thank you for the people that support our show by using our QR code right there. So this is the Lions Villain Report. Join me every morning at 10 a.m. We're talking Lions football, NFC North football, and most importantly, join the conversation. Join the conversation. Like we put out 13, 14 posts every day on our Facebook page, asking various questions. Some of them are just kind of rah-rah stuff. Some cool AI graphics. Some of them that we find. Some of them that I make with my little AI graphics thing. So make sure you throw a comment. Let us know that you're there on any of those posts. But it's faith, family, and then football. In that order. We use football to spend time with our family, to create memories. We don't let football use us. And may the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord shine his face upon you until we meet again tomorrow for football talk. Lions Villain Report. Peace out.
Hey, yo, the lies so that you never make it. Hopeless, so it seems. Eyes closed, hands open wide to embrace your dreams. Sometimes you gotta take a loss just to get the win. Like lots of sin was popping in like oxygen when boxes wet. Focus on the mental, never lose like a smooth instrumental. Better choose on the move in a pinto. Choose what I get to, never lose smooth on the move, but it's simple. Never give up and we winning it, maybe. We just keep winning, we conquering daily. Envision that pay me, it's never this way. We indigenous, maybe we winning this crazy. Your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity, it's your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity, it's your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity, it's your opportunity, your opportunity.